Hello again. Welcome back to the Wicked Wild Podcast, a feral podcast for the uncivilized horror fans. And you've joined us on a very special night. We'll tell you more about that later, but I think this is a first for the crew, and we're just giddy with excitement about it. But we'll get more into that in a minute. Before we get there, let me introduce you to our crew this evening. We'll start up in the bitter North Michigan area with John. How's it going, John?
Bitter is a good description. A really good description. It's been a week.
Has it? Yeah. So back to back, I've got this question because we talked a little bit about it on the Let the Right One In episode, but you are our northern representative. You are our frosty boy. So why do people keep going out and skating on lakes? Because I just assume at this point, if you go with a group, there's just an assumption that one or two of those people aren't coming back. Somebody's got to fall through the ice, right?
No. If it's cold enough and you're skating on it, most likely that thing is about 3 to 6 inches thick and no one's following through unless you go to the center of the lake where it's thinnest. But where those people were on that lake, the only reason why, it's you put a hole in it, it's going to make it structurally unsound. But no, for the most part, you should be fine on. But should you? No. It ruins your skates. It's not fun, and just don't do it.
I don't know. I have yet to see a movie that represents anything other than they're just death traps.
That you should do it all the time.
There's 3 things I know in this life: babies can't look up, dogs can't, or horses can't look up, baby can't walk backwards, and you should never walk out on frozen ice, no matter how thick you think it is. 3 things I know in life.
Hey, Gordon Bombay drove a limo out onto the ice. Okay, it's safe.
Who?
Gordon Bombay from Mighty Ducks. Come on. Okay. He went in a limo out on the ice.
That's a movie, John.
That is a movie.
Oh, these are all movies.
Yeah. A lot better
movies
than the shit
aren't
we watched.
real life. Unless I say it is.
Oh. That chocolatey voice you hear there is our Pittsburgh representative, Elijah. How's it going, Eli?
Voice. Your mole king.
Hi, voice.
Eli. The Appalachian attitude himself.
Wait, Dave, did you hear us? We completely lost you, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just making sure you like.
But how was that?
We lost you exactly at that chocolate voice, sort of.
And how was that intro for myself? That was pretty good.
It's definitely on brand.
I hate that I missed it. Apparently, I'm having connection issues tonight. Fun, something else I'm going to have to chase down in the edit. But my question for you, Eli.
Yeah.
However, it was you introduced yourself, which I'm sure was spot on.
Was.
Which would you prefer? Would you prefer to eat a nice dinner of cold beans with your fiance's kids or watch this movie again?
Can I make my own third option of being the one to fall through the ice? I would rather fall through the ice than do either of those things.
The ice.
I definitely don't want the first time I'm meeting a fiance's kids to be snowed in together. I also don't like beans, so especially cold or hot. So I'm just going to be like, if I'm ever in that situation where they're like, hey, you can watch this movie, or hey, you could eat cold beans with these kids you just met, I'm like, well, I'm gonna go look for John's structurally sound hole and jump in.
Fair enough. And then Jamie up in New York. How's it going, Jamie?
That's me. Hi, I'm good.
So watching this movie and thinking of my friend Jamie, I think we've reached a new height of anti-Jamie filmmaking of all time. Am I wrong in that?
Is it because mixing kids with slow burn with like
nothing happening?
Nothing. Yeah.
No gore.
This one is pretty. We're gonna talk about it, but yeah, I like. It's something. Is all I have to say.
Is it bad? I think we should chase this dragon, start another podcast, but the whole point of it is just to try to find movies that Jamie will think is worse than the one we showed her the week before.
Not fair. That's so not
fair. How long would she last?
That's the thing. Listen,
2 weeks.
Like, there are some movies I'm like thinking of. I'm like, my God, if she's alive at the end of it, like, how would I top it? Then I'm like, oh, here's this other one.
Well, I've teased it out as we've done the introduction to the host, but the point I made at the beginning is I do believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, crew, this is the first time we are 4 for 4 in absolute open hate for a movie. Is that
Didn't we
right?
all hate Antlers?
No, we thought it was fun.
No. Some
You're
of
the
us
worst.
had very
Three are the
strong
worst.
hatred, and the rest of us thought it was a movie. I think Dave means, as long as Eli, I'm waiting for I think Dave means like outward low hate this movie. Now Eli's gonna go the other way.
I don't like it, but like I don't know if I care enough about it.
Oh, like Antlers. Got it.
No, listen,
Us.
no, that.
Us and Antlers.
Okay.
Us.
I was like, don't you dare.
Okay,
say that was
anyway,
okay,
but
yeah.
for all intents and purposes, Dave, I think this might be a first 4 for 4.
So there's your spoiler. If this is a movie that matters to you, if you like this movie, I'm going to give you an open invitation to skip the next hour of what we're going to do. Not that we're going to be rude, but we are going to be honest about a movie that we all had fairly strong reactions to. So if that's not for you, skip ahead to the next review. We'll see you there. But before we do that, before we get into our thoughts on The Lodge, I'm going to pass off to Eli to give us this week's paranormal journalistic headlines, a little section we call The Wicked Whisper.
Listen, people, I don't even know. Like first off, I still can't believe, like, if you had told young conspiracy Eli, like 10 years ago, this was the timeline I was going to be a part of, I would have never believed you. Here's the most recent news articles. A lot of those AI companies that were like, hey, this isn't a weapon. This is to advance the human race. And now a bunch of those companies announced that they're handing over the AI to the military so it could be used for military application. Hi, Skynet. Didn't think it would take you a year to get here, but here we are. So we have that to look forward to. Meanwhile, this is the same AI that just a month ago, they're like, it figured out how to lie to us. And it's making up languages we don't know. But hey, you know what? Fuck it. Let's get it in charge of all these weapons. That's cool. I'm sure nothing bad will happen there. And then just when you didn't think that was bad enough, knock, knock, open up the door. It's real. The aliens are here. This week, NASA announced with their new Hubble telescope, they were looking at Proxima b, which is a planet, and they found a light pattern on the planet that the only thing they can think it looks like is fucking city lights. We may have found another civilization on a planet, and meanwhile, while we were looking at that sumbitch, we started receiving weird signals from space. We don't know what they are. And they're like, it could either be a signal from another life form, or it could be the universe pulling apart. And then they just left it at that. And I'm like, what do you mean the universe pulling it apart? That don't sound good. But hey, you know what? We got that to look forward to. So what's the worst can happen there? More videos were leaked from the classified government video of the jellyfish alien that was floating around a military base that got leaked this week, that a lot of people were like, well, this can't be real. And so far, reports are coming back that, well, it's real. It's a real video. But the closest theory anybody can get to is like, well, maybe it's a bunch of balloons floating across the base together. If you look at that video and you think those are fucking balloons bunched together, one, you need to go to the eye doctor. And two, punch yourself in the face because you're an idiot. I'm just saying that now. I'm just saying it now. So that happened, which, you know, whatever. Like, so that's cool. So now not only are there aliens, but they're giant fucking air floating jellyfish octopus. So like, for all you people out there, the tentacles, looks like you got your wish. That's what we got to look forward to this year. And finally, just because if we didn't think it was scary enough to go into the ocean, they also think they got another signal, what some believe from the satellite image might be a megalodon, that large shark we were talking about a couple weeks ago. They think they saw it again. So when the jellyfish aliens come, even though they're in the air, apparently we can't escape them because the fucking meg is happening in real life. So that's where we're at, people. We got death above, death below. I don't know how it could get worse. Skynet's coming. I guess the only thing we have to look forward to is there might be an alien versus Skynet battle. to determine who's going to murder us all. So,
and here we are wasting time watching a movie like this.
yeah, exactly. I could have been like working on my underground bunker, which I'm definitely not building.
Sure.
So my question, Eli, because officially this is sort of a momentous recording, because this is the exactly 1 year ago since we started the Wicked Whispers. Just out of curiosity, if you could go back in time to Eli this day in 2023 and show him the headlines that you've given for the last 365 days, he wouldn't believe you, would he?
You know what I think just blows my fucking mind about this whole thing. Like the last year, I mean, if you would have thought, even if you'd have looked like 15 years ago, half the shit we said were conspiracy, the government's like, yep, all true. And no one gives a fuck, which blows my mind. And then like what all that's happened in a year, just 1 year. And once again, no one gives a shit. First off, that's a real social comment about how shitty things are on Earth right now, which is sad. But two, when that shit catches up, like the other thing, which will be like, I'm waiting for it to settle before I talk about it. This will be the next one. But like fucking Tom DeLonge came out. It was like the government, because, you know, he's working partially for the government when he's not toward fucking Blink 182, which was a sentence I never thought I'd fucking say in 100 years. He was like, yeah, there's a pyramid in Alaska they've been keeping hidden. They're going to announce soon. What do you mean there's a pyramid in fucking Alaska? What are you talking about, Tom DeLonge, you dick? You know what? I'm going to say something. Another sentence I never thought I'd say. That man may be my arch nemesis, because he was supposed to be like one of us, and he made his way in somehow to the Matrix, and he was going to expose the truth. And what does that D-bag did? He like talks the little fucking dumb limericks and puts little teasers in his video and doesn't really tell anything.
Now he's a company man.
If you're not going to be part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And that's what he is. He's part of the problem.
Fair enough. Well, thank you, Eli. So we're going to jump into our movie review. And as we do on every episode, we start off our reviews by doing a quick synopsis of the movie we watched. The way we do it is an on-the-fly synopsis, meaning I'm going to call on one of our hosts. They don't know which one. And they're going to have to give a synopsis of this movie. They're going to be selected by the person who gave the synopsis last week, not knowing that they're selecting them. And since Eli was my partner in crime last week with this on-the-fly synopsis, I'm going to ask him a question. So my question for you this week, Eli, is I've got a list of 3 movies. You choose which of those is a better cabin in the woods style film that you would rather watch than the one we watched. So first is Ex Machina.
Oh, okay.
Second, Weekend at Bernie's.
Oh.
Third, Antlers. Which one of those movies would be would you prefer to have watched?
Whoever you assign Antlers to, I'll never pick you. So you're welcome.
I guess that's the person you didn't want to do the synopsis.
Man, you know what? That's hard. I do like Ex Machina, but it's not something I could like watch over and over again, or like even watch like every so often. Whereas if I'm locked in a cabin, I could potentially watch Weekend at Bernie's every day. So I'm going to pick Weekend at Bernie's. It's not 2, right? It's the first one.
It's the original. OG.
Okay, right on. Yeah, yeah, Weekend at Bernie's for sure.
All right, John, tell us about
The
Lodge.
Oh, The Lodge.
Wait, hold on. Which one of you was Antlers?
Oh, that was me.
Oh,
wow.
You didn't want to do the
highly of
synopsis?
yourself.
Nope.
Wow. Man, talk about stacking the deck.
I see what you did there.
Oh, The Lodge. I mean, what says family dynamics and like working trauma out better than, you know, throwing your 2 children with some girl you rescued from a cult into a cabin with no car and just throw them in the woods. Just leave them there alone. It's just great. But yes, no, The Lodge, we have suicide that brings a family closer together and everybody's really thrilled about it. And so the bright idea is we're going to hang turkeys. And then we're going to talk about going up north or into a cabin to celebrate Christmas with a stranger. Just wonderful family dynamics. And then shit gets real. Pills get taken, literally get stolen, and things get nuts. We lose a poor furry creature, which is the saddest part of the movie, outside of the suicides. But other than that, this would be what I would call Eli's wonderful box of treasure, aka poop.
Big old pile of poop.
I like how we're turning poop into like a Eli thing. Like that means I'm about to TM it, right?
I don't think we're turning it into a thing.
I don't think we are.
You've turned it into a thing.
Once again, if you're not part of the problem, you're part of the solution. You guys are push this, so you're part of the solution. So,
oh boy,
I love that this is a brand you're embracing. Thank you for that, John.
And we've lost poor Dave again.
Dave got all excited with that poop talk, and it
unless he muted himself.
It knocked his sound out.
Am I back? Hello.
Oh, now we hear the dulcet tones.
I hate this so much. So,
it's kind of fitting for the movie.
Yeah,
it is. Maybe that's it. I don't edit it out. Just deal with it.
Yeah. Everybody must suffer.
We're covering for you. I had an awesome intro for myself, and we're talking about poop while your mic was working. So, I mean, what more could you want, people?
Oh, I could hear you. I just couldn't talk.
You're welcome.
So thank you for that, John. I am going to kick right back to you to give me your thoughts. Cool. Was this your first viewing of The Lodge?
Probably first
20th?
I mean, just shy of 20 with 19 solid viewings. I mean, honestly, considering the weather conditions and personal circumstances, this was one of the most pleasurable movies I could have put on the other day. Wonderful piles of snow as I look out at piles of snow, and wonderful. I mean, and if I didn't even bother to look up because I didn't care, but was it Alicia Silverstone?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. I mean, I looked at it as like, of course, we're going to have her murder herself.
Yeah.
Probably the most name recognizable person outside of the kid from It. We're going to just have her off herself in the beginning. But no, yeah, this is my first and probably last. Honestly, I was kind of, even though I was like, man, this is fucking dark. I was open to it. I'm like, is it going to get weird? Is it going to get crazy? Like, as we get weird and crazy, like, I'm kind of here for that. And we could see some stuff, but it never goes there ever. It is the biggest, I shouldn't say it's not the biggest disappointment. I was just hoping for more. And I think it could have gone really wild and trippy when she started losing her mind. And it just disappointed. But it had tons of symbolism that was way over my head. And I'm sure it means a lot to somebody out there. This would have been a great episode to have Caitlin on, just so she could have dissected it, because that would have probably been nice. But I just didn't care that much. The cult angle I was hopeful for Eli's sake, because he's a big cult guy. And the cult thing never really materialized other than 39 snow angels. I didn't bother to count them. I just assumed.
Yeah.
But no, it was disappointing. The weird house she goes to, though, that was interesting. I don't know where they filmed that. That was kind of cool, but
a bunch of cool house.
Yeah, there was a bunch of cool ideas in there, but it was just, it never went anywhere, never did anything, and it was just boring. The hanging turkey still throws me, man. I do not get that. Like, that's how we decorate for Thanksgiving, I guess, in Massachusetts, is we hang a bunch of fake turkeys around an outdoor table, because nothing says Thanksgiving than eating outdoors in Massachusetts.
And freezing your ass off.
Right. Come on, kids. We're going to go outside and eat food, and it's going to be extra
cover
cold.
yourself in your big blankets while you eat.
Yeah, I was going to ask if that was a tradition I just wasn't aware of. Like, we eat inside.
Yeah, we do too.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't live in Mass, but
I mean, if you live in Florida, I'm sure you can have Thanksgiving outside.
Yeah, sure. But no, this movie was not good. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. It had some cool. I mean, hey, we had the Thing in there for a minute. That was kind of cool.
The best part of this movie.
Yeah, I also noted was it a sleepaway camp still that was on the TV? Did anybody catch that?
Oh no, that what was the other movie? I know what you're talking about. That was Jack Frost.
Yeah, it went from the Thing to Jack Frost.
No, this is early. This was earlier. It was literally like a still as they were like walking through the house, and the TV was on, and it looked like Felissa Rose when her crazy like scene, like, or the face.
I missed
it. Looked, but I mean, the dollhouse, the symbolism that went nowhere, literally
just being hereditary.
Yeah. It's just like, we're just going to show you what's going to happen, just like Midsommar, Hereditary. Yeah, it was something that we're trying to go for that A24 trippy thing and just never materialized. But
I think I know what it is. And when I say it, you're probably going to, what I think it is, you're going to think it's even dumber than what it was.
Oh man, I can't wait to hear Eli's take then. But no, this movie was not good. It was trying to do something and it never really got there. And it was boring, slow, depressing, and no gore except for a little bit of blood.
Right. Fair enough.
Huzzah.
All right. Eli, since you're primed and ready, you've already got the pump primed. Jump in here. Is this your first watching?
Well, here's the funny thing, right? For months, that's been on our list for a couple months, and I've been like, there's a bunch of lodges. I've never seen this movie. What movie is this? Up until the exact minute I played it, I was like, I've never seen this. I don't know what this is. Sounds weird. I reversed on paper, this movie should have worked. Like, there was a lot of parts of this movie, like on paper, that I'm like, that's it. This is an Eli movie. Slow burn. The story's interesting. It's got the call angle. It's got all this stuff. And they just fucked it up at every step of the way. I also, for some reason, campaign on the fact that it's called the Lodge, but the dad's row house looked more like a lodge than their camp house, which was just a house. Which that something weird to get hung up on, but I was hung up on the whole time. I was like, well, this isn't a lodge. His row house is a lodge because he lives in a weird cube. Like this, this is just a house. The movie, like it tries to do a slow burn, but it is so slow that nothing happens. And when you get to the ending, which I'm sure we'll talk about, my biggest issue with this movie was there was not proportional responses. Like what they set this person up, the stepmom to be, to her kind of trauma she was doing with this cult was not proportional to like what these kids were doing and like their response and the Bond level planning, the James Bond level villain level planning they did to get the end of this. Like, so like you had this slow burn that kind of came to this weird ending where nothing was proportional or really made sense to like how this all happened. And then like it kind of does this dumb fucking beat him to death with a stick because like this is stupid. The cult angle could have been cool, but they just didn't do enough with it. I almost feel like they just didn't know what to do with it. And like it's kind of a shame because they took it to like that suicide cult thing, which when that works, it works. But like this, they're just kind of like, it's a thing, but like it didn't really play much into it and it didn't really make sense. And that's the best way I can start with it. Didn't make sense. And it was super boring. And the atmosphere, there were shots in atmosphere that was really cool. It just didn't fit in this movie because like it's like they wrote it on a coloring book with a doll crayon. And they were just kind of guessing it as they went. That's what I think.
Let's hear
Turds.
I think I've frozen.
You did freeze.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But you know what?
Your voice, but your video.
I like the video frozen way because
yeah.
I say turds and you were frozen on a big smile.
Well, now
so it was
not.
like you're really enjoying my turd joke.
You know I did.
I know you did.
All right. Am I back?
You are back.
Perfect. All right. So I'm going to kick off to Jamie now. Somebody who I think probably is fairly offended at this point at the negative energy that's been doled out upon probably one of her top 5 movies.
How
of all
dare
time.
you guys?
Is this the first watch? What do you think of this?
It was. So I can keep this pretty short because John and Eli cover like as everybody said, almost nothing happens in this movie and it's super fucking slow. So it's no surprise that I do not care for this. I will say like Eli kind of just ended on it. Let's just start there. Like there's no one to root for in this movie. In the beginning, I was rooting for the kids, but they get everything that they deserve by the end of this movie. But you don't root for her either by the end. Like, so the whole movie, and Eli was just saying this, so I'm just echoing what everybody here has said, but like the whole movie is just so many illogical and bad choices and plot holes, like like Eli saying like diabolical Bond level. Like these things don't make fucking sense. Like we've seen similar plots play out before. We've seen similar things in touching on a lot of things that happen in this movie, in many other movies. But it's not cohesive here at all. It's so slow that by the time we even got to like the twist or the end explanation or any of that, so you get that before the end, right? You get it a little bit earlier. But what I mean is like, I so didn't care. I just wanted this movie to end so badly that like, it's been so slow that you telling me this now is not going to make me be like, oh my God, it was such a great movie sitting through all this for this dumb fucking twist that I'm using loosely. That doesn't even fucking make sense. And now if I'm going to think about the rest of the movie, I'm just going to point out all your other plot holes that didn't make sense for this fucking ending. So it's like we said, it's super slow, not even suspenseful slow, not even eerie, really slow, some cool shots, but it doesn't warrant, this movie doesn't deserve it at all. So we'll talk about actual things in the movie. But like, it like I said, like every decision, even from setting up the premise, makes no fucking sense. Like we'll talk about, but this dad either hates his fucking kids so much, or is just the worst dad I've ever seen in like a movie. That's not purposely written to be a terrible. That's what I mean. Like that's not purposely written to be a terrible father. This guy is a fucking terrible father. Right. But yeah, we'll get there. And I can't even, like, I know we'll get into specifics, but I have to even say at the top of this that I hope I'm not offending anybody, but no woman gets out of the shower and just wraps the towel around her waist, soaking wet. I'm sorry. I don't care how great your boobs are. Like, you may want to look at them all the time. That's great, but you don't get out of the shower and wrap the towel around your waist.
Especially in a freezing cabin, I would
with children.
I was just about to say that. I was like, I'm a dude, and like I could, like, I'm like, it'd be fucking cool. I would wrap the whole towel around me like a giant blanket, like I was eating Thanksgiving dinner because of how cold it is.
It's the towel situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway. So I'm just gonna sit here and repeat what everybody before me has said, and we will get into the actual specifics on why the father is terrible, why the choices make no sense, why the ending is ridiculous, but who cares by the time you get there. And just, yeah, like you guys said, the bond level of these fucking kids, like, how are they geniuses? Are they, I don't really even fucking understand, but, how did everything happen to play out the way they expected to a degree for things to work? Like,
that's a freaking dangerous game. High stakes.
It's not only a dangerous game, but it's also saying a lot about, I guess, also what this movie thinks people with like mental health or trauma are, because apparently they're so fucking predictable that you know exactly what's going to happen when you take their pills or you make them feel crazy. Anyway, I'm sorry.
You're boiling my blood, Jamie. I'm ready to, you're like boiling my blood. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, that's one of the big points we're going to get into in a minute. Yeah, so I'm going to get through mine real quick. Yeah. I had never seen this movie. So first, now the question of the audience is, well, then why the hell are we watching it for the podcast? Well, I had put it on the list because I had a couple of good friends who had recommended it because they knew I liked slow burn, high tension, psychological thriller, that kind of thing. I'm not for the protection of the innocent. I'm not going to share those friends' names, but I'll just say that's why we're watching it, is because it was recommended to me, and I thought, I watched the trailer, and it's an isolated cabin situation. So it seemed like the kind of thing that was right up our alley. I don't know what this is as a movie. And we've joked before, and we've said things aren't horror. And I've been the first to kind of come to the defense of movies of saying horror is a very broad spectrum term. It's a very broad definition. I'm happy to defend a lot of different things that are on the fringe that others might not consider horror. Even this would stretch even my definition of what is actually horror, because literally, and we're not joking and we're not being hyperbolic, nothing happens in this movie. Like literally nothing happens in this movie. There's some perceived things that the horror that happens in this is pet horror. If the only freaking death in your movie is a pet death, you need to walk away. If that's the only death you're going to do, then I'm not calling you horror. I don't know what you are. But they let the dog freeze to death. The end. That's the biggest horror that happens in a movie, and I don't even care that that's a spoiler. If you're out there, you need to know that. If you're down for that, then go ahead and watch this movie. I don't like any of them. I think you're exactly right, Jamie. There is nobody for me to ride along with in this movie. There's nobody I care about. And there's nobody I'm empathizing with, which is a hard place for me to be. I don't feel like the writers did a lot of research on cults. I was pretty annoyed by the way they handled suicide cults, because it seemed like it was a headline understanding of what those are and just threw it in there as an emotional trigger. Which, if the fact that she is from a cult plays no part in her personality or the way she reacts with these kids or anything else that's happening.
Oh, there he is.
Oh,
No,
we
you're
just
back.
lost you for the past, I don't know.
Oh no. What was
Like-
the last thing you heard?
Headline. It looked like they had a headline
Yeah.
understanding of a suicide cult.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. What I was saying is that there is no true research. There doesn't seem like to be any respect for that subject matter at all. It was used as a pin to put into her in place of actually fleshing out a personality, that this is her trauma. And honestly, if you not even a murder / suicide cult, but if you've had manipulation in your life, whether it's a toxic family, toxic relationship, or a cult situation, and you have trauma from that, I would have to imagine this would be very hard to watch, the way that they handled her trauma and her past and kind of what she's dealt with, because she's used as sort of a trope of the victim for that first half. All of her agency is taken away from her by this fiance / father and by the cult. Like she has no agency to do what she wants to do. I just don't feel like they worked very hard at it. There's not one performance to carry this movie. I think you're exactly right, Eli, what you said at the front about Alicia Silverstone. She was like the highest ticket talent they had in it. And they did the screen thing with, like they did with Drew Barrymore, of killing her in the first act. Now, I don't even want to give the praise that was a graphic scene of the mother killing herself, because it was so undeveloped or underdeveloped that I couldn't even get there emotionally when this awful thing happens on screen, because I didn't know her. I didn't know anything about her relationship with this husband or with her kids. It was awful to watch, but there was no emotional gravity for me. And I talked about this last year on 30 Days of Night. The one thing that if you want to shut Dave down on your movie, just be emotionally manipulative. And this is like the pinnacle of an emotionally manipulative piece of crap movie. Everything in there is just to do things that aren't earned. Saw the big twist coming a mile away, and I hated it the entire time. I was so obvious. And that's my first question. And then we'll kick off into, we'll jump this movie in properly. How's that sound? But my first question is, why the hell did they spend so much time in the first act having me watch Jaeden pack his bag with all the stuff that he was going to use to manipulate her?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I knew what was going to happen because I saw the harness go in the bag. I saw the candles go in the bag.
They spoil it. Even the scene before that, the whole dollhouse, there's a scene where him and his sister are playing that. They were designing the plan to get her. All those images was part of the play. And before that, I'm led to believe that these two asshat children, who might be 7 and 12, spent one night on YouTube watching their gross dad, who studied the one survivor of this cult and ended up dating her, studied and then knew exactly how to manipulate and affect her to make this whole plan go into effect. And then they do it with the dogs, and then you watch him pack all this shit there. You're like, what? Makes no sense why a 12-year-old pack his shit.
Yeah.
And then as soon as the first thing happens, you're like, if you didn't catch the dollhouse, you're like, oh, well, cool. He's James Bond level villain.
I didn't even catch him packing because I was doing Legos, but
Same. I wasn't doing Legos, but I didn't see it either.
I was doing Legos, but my answer to that, even because I didn't even see it, is just that this movie had a scene of him showing her how to use the only gun in the house or whatever, how to shoot, as if that's not going to fucking be 2 minutes later or any point later the biggest. Did we even need that? Why can't she just know how to use it? Why did we need so heavy-handed it's not even foreshadowing at that point. It's just fucking blatantly telling you what's going to, because we've seen that in every movie ever, but that was the most heavy-handed. She could just, or we could have just seen the gun in the drawer. We didn't need a shooting lesson and her being a marksman and her that was so Unnecessary.
All he had to do was give her the code to the gun safe.
That's really something like just like,
Well, here's the thing too, because like once they kind of like stepped all over their lead with that, because like you're right, she's a marksman, but that doesn't really play into effect. But it's like, oh, so she shot all the people on the call. That's why she's the only survivor, because like they were shot, but like they fucked that all up, or that could have explained some of the ending. But like they just whatever. It's like they just were like, it's almost like they like I compare this a lot to Let Me In, where like that was a slow burn. That one had no villains, but like. Everything was set up in design and everything made sense. Everything was proportional in this Shark Tank of characters, and they're all trying to be the bigger predator and whatnot. Whereas like this is just like everybody's an asshole and whatever, and then they're just like doing shit. And it's almost like they were making it up as they go, like to try to get these effects, and like none of it made sense and none of it was proportional to like her whole thing of being like, well, she was like the worst person in the call because she did the shooting and like she was actually falling. And the only thing that kept her tethered in reality was a thing of pills and a dog, which makes no goddamn sense. And then like these kids are fucking James Bond level cult psychology masters who like came up with this dollhouse plan to do all this shit. And the dad's just a big idiot who can't drive in snow.
And so hates his children.
And hates his children because he's like, hey, I know your mom just, which is also like the whole, nobody's character arc or like motivation makes it like the mom like, okay, that's sad your husband left you, but like that she just kills herself, and it's like,
but we don't know. There's not more going on. But that's Dave's point. We have no fucking clue what's wrong with this man. So all we see, by the way, is a cliche woman who's been left for maybe someone younger or someone different, and she has to shoot herself because her husband's her whole life. And she must kill herself because no, she doesn't have kids who care about her, obviously. Like, no, she doesn't have anything else to live for. Her fucking man doesn't want her. Right. She's going to shoot herself in the fucking face. And we're going to use it for cheap, like shock value to start this movie and then do nothing. Right. Nothing after that.
And then like the day after the funeral, he's like, hey,
I know, here's
I want you to meet my new lady. And they're like, no. And he's like, well, then you're going to spend Christmas week with her in a cabin.
So let me ask you this question since we're on the point, and it's one of the notes I had. These horrible children are 100% what drove the mom to suicide, correct?
They are?
I'm asking you legitimately. I think their manipulation started with the mom.
I would assume because if you look at the dollhouse in the beginning of the movie, they were setting it up with their mom. So that's what's weird because
I missed that completely.
Same.
It's so fucked because there's like movies like this and like it makes sense because they give you some kind of juxtaposition or some kind of background to be like, oh, well, these kids were adopted. They were raised in a cult and that's where they learned. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Or, hey, these kids were whatever. Or like, they're the Antichrist. Something. Well, this movie doesn't do it. They give you a dollhouse scene and then they're trying to make you think like, well, their mom died and they're being forced to hang out with this creepy cult lady. And then they do this weird dollhouse where like, well, here's all of our plans. We're going to fuck her in the head. And then like, it just backfired on us. And they're like, oh, we were just doing this for revenge from our mom. Like, so like, yeah, like they set that up. Why do we
think they were manipulating the mom though? I'm just confused. I missed this. Why would we think that they're manipulating the mom? Because all we see them interact with her is the movie that they made for the dad, which is a loving whatever. Them upset at the funeral, but they have a doll that looks like their mom. Like I thought she was like upset.
But they set her up like where she was dead. Like that was their plan.
Yeah.
So like everything they've done, they planned through that dollhouse.
I completely missed anything with the mom.
And the reason I asked this question, I mean, there's a lot of reasons.
So this changes everything in my head now.
I'm trying to put something together that matters in this movie. I'm probably digging turds for corn.
Mm-hmm.
Here we are. But the reason I ask the question is because this movie was made by, Severin, Fiala, and Veronika, Franz. They're Austrian writers and directors. They've worked together. Now, the first movie that they had commercial success with was Goodnight Mommy. Have you all seen that?
No.
Nope.
I know what it is, but I never saw it.
Yeah, it's kind of like Let the Right One In. It's very much a German or a cold kind of movie, but it's about two boys who are torturing their mom, like at home, just being evil little shits the whole time. And that was their success. And then this almost seems like a rehash of that movie. It's all about these evil kids that are manipulating the situation. But the difference is that one works because it's a close set. It's just the mom and the two boys. And without any spoilers, however many boys are there, we'll put it that way. But it seems like this is almost a black comedy of Austrian culture. Like maybe that's the inside dark joke of this movie and Goodnight Mommy, of that these kids are the worst on the planet.
Maybe, but like if that's where they want you to go with this movie, then you have to sit there and be like, well, my God, if they made to the age of 20 and 22, that would have been the origin story for the Legion of Doom. Like, because like they had almost a comic book style planning technique through this, and so much so because then like with what they were doing, because like they saw the sin, there was all this like weird symbolism about the 7 deadly sins. So all of a sudden now they're theology majors, and like so like there was like all this like weird, and then like they watched one YouTube video about her in the cult, so now they know how to manipulate cult people, and like they knew about her medicine and what that would cause, and like these attachments and like all this stuff. And so like it's if that's what they were trying to do, which they may be, like I'm not even saying you're not right, they may be, but that's the case, it's like, oh well, then if they ever made a sequel and these kids lived, it'd be Legion of Doom. They're fighting Superman and Batman in the Hall of Justice, trying to convince Wonder Woman that her lasso of truth was made out of butthole hair. I don't know, but like that's the level of like nonsense that they try to present to you with these kids.
Well, I
hated it.
I'm just thinking that there might be a cultural deference thing to where, at least to these filmmakers, there's nothing more horrifying than Evil from Innocence. And we've seen Evil from Innocence kid movies before and done much, much better than this movie was done. But just, I think they're leveraging way too much, or putting too much assumption on me having the OMG moment of, oh, the kids were doing this the whole time. I knew the kids were doing it the whole time before we got to the freaking cabin. But I don't care because nothing's happening. I mean, they're not competent at what they're doing.
No, nothing. I mean, yeah, nothing happens throughout this movie. That's the problem. Like, literally nothing. Every time I thought something was like about to maybe happen, nothing happened as a result. I was just like, I don't understand why we even wasted whatever it is, an hour and a half, hour for, I don't remember the runtime, but like, with this family, with this family of people, so unlikable people. And if the kids were like that, if the kids were manipulating the mom, that moved past me because like I was setting up Legos or whatever. But like, that's why when I say I was with them in the beginning, because in the beginning, I just saw a family
with trauma. Yeah.
You know, regardless of if they're bitchy, regardless of what these kids are going through, they're going through something, and let them fucking go through it instead of just being like, time to play house with your new mom. And like, you know, and I'm sorry, like, what the fuck is wrong with that woman that she wants to just jump right into this family of kids who just lost their fucking mother to suicide? Like, what woman is just like, sure, I'm going to come to a cabin with just you guys on the holidays for like in the middle of nowhere.
Well, that's where I would argue, like, that's where like the dad's just a big piece of shit. They don't understand. Well, she was from a cult, like a close family. Now she has nobody. Her whole family's gone. That's the only reasonable decision that was made in this movie, is why she would jump in so fast, because she wants a family again.
Okay,
she lost her whole family, but
he's a piece of shit. But
100%. But they don't present any of that very well. Like that's the weird thing is, like they use this cult tactic, and then like they use kind of like weird, hyper realistic, like character flaws and issues associated with that. Because like to Dave's point, it's like they read a headline about, like, I don't even think they understand, because like the cult leader was more like Charlie Manson than old Marshall Heaven's Gate, which is kind of look like this was roughly based on, but like it's like a weird, like they just looked like little headlines and stuck it in there, so like it hits weirdly close with some of these things in a shit sandwich. Mm-hmm. So like none of it makes sense, or like, because there's a whole thing with like 7 deadly sins, which I think went over a lot of people's head, because like they didn't really even establish what this cult's deal was, besides that they had duct tape with sin on
I
their
just
mouth.
kept getting told religion is all I kept getting told.
Right.
religion,
And, like,
religion.
Right. And like they didn't even do a good job at the end where they're like, because like, I know like when Mary, because I first watched with Mary, that I blocked from my mind, she just thought like, oh, they hid her pills to be mean. And I was like, no. I was like, they've set up this whole thing to make her seem like she was crazy so she would either die or leave. I was like,
I think kill herself, right? Like,
or kill herself, right? Like this was the whole. This was the whole plan, and like they don't even explain that well at the end.
No.
So like they're just real like haphazard with this shit, and like especially considering they're like using this weird like extreme manipulation in real life to like about a movie full of a bunch of like people like real haphazardly and like where it makes no sense. And then you get the end and like you don't really like anybody. You're like, well, especially fuck those kids, but the dad's a shit. This fucking poor girl, like I kind of feel bad, but then like I don't, because like I don't even know what this fucking situation is.
I don't know the situation, and she's not likable still though. Like even her dissent, anything, like I don't have sympathy for her because I never found her likable. Like they didn't give me anything on her. She was brought in as the other woman. Yep. She was brought in as like antagonistic to the kids, even though she's not directly, but like by default, and so it's. There was nothing for me to even gravitate to. Maybe if we had some personal time with her outside the family and seeing whatever, and then bringing her into this family would be a totally different fucking thing. Well, but she is brought to me right after the mother's funeral
as a creep. Because like they didn't even take 5 minutes to set her up as just even like, oh, this girl trying to heal and get past this and like working. It was literally like you see one shot of her like sneaking out through the garden like a weird garden gnome when like Delicious Silverstone is over. Then you don't see her again for 20 minutes. And then when you see her, she gets in the car with her dog and weirdly turns and looks at the kids. And you're like, oh my God, she's a pervert. Like, this is what the kind of movie it is. Like, they don't build that up. And so then, like, you're supposed to feel bad for her because, like, oh, she's in this cult. But like, now she's experiencing this stuff. But you're like, well, she was a fucking weirdo. So, like, who gives a shit? And then, like, all this stuff happens to her. And they're like, it was the kids. I'm like, well, I don't give a shit because I really know this person. And she was presented to me as weird. And now I'm supposed to feel bad for her. But how can I feel bad for her when like I watch her be sneaky and like look at people weird and like eat beans out of a can the weirdest way I've ever seen possible.
Yeah. Everybody, I know we're beating it. Like everybody, there's literally nobody in this movie to root for. So what am I watching? Because then nothing's happening. So again, what am I watching? I'm not shocked by anything. Okay, you could have someone blow their brains out right at the beginning of the movie, but we've been there, done that with better movies.
And I don't know that person.
Yeah, I don't know her at all. Like, it's fine. Like, you literally just did it for me to go, oh my God, and then for nothing to happen after that. But like, as we were just talking, and as you were talking, I was just getting madder and madder too, thinking of like, because we haven't, I don't mean to go into it, but we haven't even, we've said how their plan is Bond level, but we haven't gotten to the stupidity of the actual things they do, which is fucking their dead. Like, in what world does someone see that and be like, oh yeah, we're dead. We're like, I don't know. I don't know what kind of human, but like, this was their plan, was to print memorial photos and their death, my God, guys, what is the word that I cannot think of?
Well, you talk about like the obituary pamphlets?
Thank you, obituaries. Yeah. They print out obituaries and a memorial photo, and that's supposed to convince her. I know there's other shit that happens, but that's supposed to convince her that we're like dead or in purgatory or something.
In
like
2019, that's the technology that they're implementing.
Like, it's just unreal, the stupidity of this plot, of this plan.
Right. Well,
and it only hinges on the fact, but this girl's crazy. It hinges on the fact that she's going to fall for this because we took her meds and she's already crazy or whatever. Like,
well, and the thing we haven't really talked about yet, and it's supposed to be the pivotal scene of this movie, is when she discovers Grady outside, frozen to death.
Oh, the dog. Yeah.
That is the moment of the deepest trauma in her life. The worst things happen, but she's sitting on that porch with her frozen dog in her lap, and I'm thinking, who am I supposed to be mad at? I mean, everybody, right? Like, she's not innocent in this situation, And as soon as she comes into that cabin with the dog and puts it on the dog bed where the dad tells her to put it, I'm like, this is not going to end well, and I'm going to be pissed off.
Mm-hmm.
But as it happens, it's a throwaway thing. We don't see Grady get out. We don't see the kids leave the door open to see if there was intentionality behind it. I'm just pissed off that the movie has left me with this moment that's supposed to be like the emotional center of this movie, and the moment at which she decides to take control of the situation. And I don't give an F, because they let a dog freeze outside and they all need to.
Yeah. And that's the other thing is like, I know where this is going to sound, I guess, psychotic on my behalf, but like now I'm just talking horror movies, and we've had this conversation a million times about animals, and animals are just purely innocent and like whatever. But like these kids, okay, I didn't realize they maybe have manipulated the mother. That just makes them evil. But let's even take that away and pretend this is a revenge plan. Let's go that angle. And this is a revenge plan because they blame this woman for coming in and killing their mother, because again, this woman can't live without her husband. So their revenge plan is to have this woman either go crazy, maybe kill herself, whatever. Now, to Dave's point, though, these kids are fucking evil if in their plan they want to kill an animal just to get to that point. Because, like, again, I'm aware of what I'm saying right now, but I'm going on movie plot purpose, and we want revenge. And she killed our mom, so she deserves to go. Maybe they didn't want to kill her. She deserves to go crazy and go to a mental institution or whatever, so she stays away from our dad or whatever fucking plot, like, motivation you want. But in it, you're telling me that you were fine just opening a door and letting a dog go fucking out there and freeze to death because it serves your plot, your purpose, and your plan of making this woman go crazy.
Yeah.
Well, to your point, right? Like that, like, okay, like I get you're trying to show, like, they're trying to present this like, oh, well, her only two ties to like sanity and like life from her trauma is her dog and her pills. And they don't even handle that right. Where if you look at other horror movies, like, I know, like we talked about before, but like in my mind, right? Like if you look at the Evil Dead remake, they were showing that she was going through possession, a violation. She loved that dog. That was part of the session. Okay. Character arc, that makes sense. I can get behind that. Or even something as simple as fucking John Wick. Like, John Wick wasn't a good guy. He was a gangster assassin. But like, they set up this time, the character, and when they killed his dog, you're like, good, fucking kill them all. With this, they're like, she's like creepy, nice or something. And like, now there's this thing with the kids. And like it was almost like they're used this as a moment, like, see, this is when it changes. But like, I don't give a shit, because like, I don't know any of these people, don't really like any of these people. And I've sat through what's felt like my own 7 days in this cabin. And I'm wishing something would happen to me so I could fucking escape this hell.
You're tired of eating beans yourself.
Yeah.
When they give her like the hot chocolate, did he put something in it? Like, you know, when she says, is this for me? When they're watching the thing, they're all sitting around watching a movie. And then, because now I'm just thinking of everything. Like, did he, like, he gives her a drink out of nowhere. Because again, their relationship completely changes like in that moment, because
and that's when she starts having her night hallucinations.
Yeah. So like, is there something in that again?
Because they're pharmacologists. Didn't you know they watch YouTube one night? They're psychologists, pharmacologists, Bond villains, Legion of Doom. Like, these kids are like, honestly, I don't know how this guy was living in that weird. I don't even know what his house was in the beginning, but like, I don't even know how he can not afford to live in a big mansion with these super genius children.
I think they spent most of their time with their mom.
Apparently.
Well,
yeah, definitely.
And the dad was a plank, to use Eli's term.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
And I'm not convinced, because we've talked around it. I understand that just for the sake of basic needs and survival, they probably didn't want to kill the dad, but I think they were already starting to manipulate the dad even before they had the cabin trip. Because if you remember, when the daughter has those fits in the middle of the bed about suicide and she can't go to heaven and everything, if you look at that, the way that's framed, because I went back and looked at it after I started thinking about these kids and kind of their role in all of this, the brother is standing in the corner just observing.
Now you're back.
Dave, we lost you for a while again.
Oh no.
Yeah.
We lost
the last
you.
part you were at was the dad was a plank, but you thought they were on the process of getting rid of him.
Yeah. What I was saying is, and I'm sorry, I've got to go back and look at my notes here.
No, you're good.
So
the point I was trying to make is we've talked a lot about the dad having been what the kids were trying to get back to. Like he was the goal. They needed everybody else to separate from the dad, but I don't think it was because they loved the dad. I think it's because of basic needs for survival that they needed their dad to take care of them, but they didn't care about him. And the reason I think that is because if you think back to the point where the daughter has the fits in the middle of the night in the house after the mom kills herself and they get back from the funeral, where she wakes up screaming about suicide and the mom can't go to heaven and all of that, the brother is standing in the corner just observing. Mm-hmm. And it looks like he might be observing out of horror, but I don't think that's what's being portrayed. I think the brother is watching the daughter's performance to the dad about what's happening. I think they're already waist deep in manipulating him too. It's just the problem is the dad isn't responding the way they want him to, which mm-hmm. is sort of our first picture of their manipulation. Their tactics are not foolproof, because then the brother literally goes and gets his blanket and sleeps in the sister's room. And we think that's him being a big brother and being consoling, where I'm thinking they're going to have to adjust their plan because the mm-hmm. dad's not reacting the way they want him to.
Well, like they even did that. Like there's a time in this movie where like even before the big reveal that no one saw coming, there's times where it almost seems like, you know, she's kind of young and dumb and fucking it up, and he's like coaching and like having to keep an eye on her, making sure she's like following it through, because this 97 part master villain plan he created is a little complex and like everything needs to be followed to a T. So like in my mind, that scene, he was watching her to make sure, hey, there's a certain way you have to act here. Because even at like the Thanksgiving scene, when they for some reason were all eating outside the blanket, looking like they were around their fucking Conestoga wagon with their big fucking blankets while they're eating their Thanksgiving dinner. There's even like looks he'd give her, like when they're talking, and then he's doing his crybaby thing, and like it's just like. But then again, though, like so, like you see these little things, but like it's not earned. It just comes off fucking weird because like the plan is weird. The fucking I don't know. I mean, like it's just the proportionality of this movie. Because to your point earlier, Dave, we're probably putting way too much thought into this turd shit. But
yes, like, you are. I picked up none of this evil children stuff like this.
They literally show their plan, but like even like the presumably like the things they set up, because then you get into like there's this whole thing with the sin and like there's the 7 deadly sins, and like the proportionality of like we don't want this girl dating her mom, even though realistically dating her dad, even though realistically she probably didn't want to date the dad, but he manipulated this poor like last surviving member of a cult to date him some weird way. So he's writing a book about it, which is like fucked. And then here at the end, like, oh well, yeah, like yeah, she's bad, like she's shooting people and she wants to all go to purgatory or whatever. But like these kids, look at them, the fucking Lex Luthor and fucking Raw Ghul over here, and it's like the proportionality of all this, and then they try to get your sympathy at the end because the kids are like, we just want a revenge for our mom, and like they're crying, they're sitting at the table, but like The Last of Us, there was no good guys, but they would manipulate you as you watch it, be like, well, look, they're falling in love, and like you would kind of root for them, or like you'd feel bad when he's but like it was slow burn. They did enough to keep you hanging on. There was no good guys. Everything was developed. The story was there. This, they took a shit in their hands and they clapped. And then after they fleckled shit all over your face, they're like, was that surprising? You're like, well, no, because I watched you shit in your hand and put your hands out in front of my face to clap. They're like, you got it. And then they walked away like, all right, what did I just stand here for 10 minutes for?
Yeah, I mean, the big thing that you just said of that was that the ending has no impact. Because you don't care about anybody, you don't know anybody. You don't understand.
They all deserved it.
When I say you don't understand what just happened, we all obviously very clearly understood what happened. But what I mean is, it's so nonsensical and stupid that you don't really understand why these writers wrote this story. And you're just like, I don't give a fuck at this point. Let this please be a murder suicide, and everybody here just die, because this is absolutely ridiculous at this point. Yeah,
even to the big tragedy of her shooting the dad, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't care. He's a piece of crap.
He deserved that, and then the rest of them do right after it. But no, it's just like that last scene. Like I think a lot of movies, another cheap thing is just using kids for manipulation. Now, I don't mean like, so these kids were bad. They were fucking terrible. But what I mean is this last scene with these kids fucking terrified because they are going to die. Like they're facing their mortality or their death. And it's just like, I don't give a fuck. A, they were terrible. And B, you've given me nothing to root for like these kids, even in the slightest. Like, and then
C, the
three,
dog died.
what? Yeah, the dog. And then so let's put that at A. And then A, B, 3, whatever. And then like 3, nothing has fucking happened. This whole movie, you want me to care now? I just want the credits to roll, please. That's how I felt towards the. I was like, every time like we get the dad back, I'm like, okay, the movie's almost over. And it's just like,
yep.
The only thing I hope for is that what happened to me the first time I watched this, when it first came out, it happened to get like I'm telling you, like Jamie, you and I have been talking for months where I've been like, what lodge is this? I don't even know this movie. What's this about? Like my brain, and then like as soon as I played it, I felt the dread build up in my skull because I remember the whole reason this movie, like, because I remember when this movie came out, there's a little buzz because this was the first movie Alicia Silverstone was in, and like,
no, she was in that shark movie that I watched.
This
with,
came
like,
out
Mary
first.
and Caitlin. It did?
Yeah, this came out. This was her first.
Okay.
This was her like,
is that really
welcome back to Hollywood role. And like, if I would have been her and went to the premiere watch this, I'd been like, well, fuck, I gotta leave again. Like, this is, oh my god, people are gonna hate me.
She didn't even do anything. She had like one
enough.
line in the movie.
It was enough.
She got a paycheck.
Yeah, true. But
yeah, I think the bottom line for me on this movie is it's just a mess. It just there and literally there's at least enough meat there that I can put something together to amuse myself. But genuinely, there was not enough here for me to make something that I could spin into something that I say, well, at least they took a shot or they swung for the fences. I think the best illustration is the fact that they showed clips from The Thing, Jack Frost, and the dog's name was Grady from The Shining. And there is no fleshing out any of that at all. Usually when somebody throws something like that in, it's to inform or to suggest or to in some way influence the story at large. They're just thrown in there because they're better horror movies.
I was about to say that they were like, here's some better
Jack
movies. Even like, here's some better movies that to take you away from this one. I mean, we didn't even, and I don't even feel like it needs wasting time, but because we've said the diabolical whatever, but we also didn't even fucking the kid fake hanging himself. Like this is absurd. And that's what Eli kept touching on. But for people who probably will not watch this movie, because trust me,
please don't watch this movie.
Fucking pretending to hang himself. Again, how old is this kid? Probably like early preteen, like 13.
I would presume like 12, 13.
Yeah. And he's got a fucking PhD. Harness to fake hang himself from a stairwell. Like, I don't even understand what this
What, you've never done that before, Jamie?
Well, that's
what?
Like, you know what?
I've done that like so many times. It's ridiculous.
When I was watching this,
you already skate on lakes, so
yeah,
that's true.
You already take your life in your own hands. But I was literally, when I was watching this again, I told Mary, I'm like, I feel like I'm watching if The Big Bang Theory and any shitty horror movie that I'll never watch again had a baby, and this is it, because I'm watching these fucking children geniuses come up with this like hanging harness and like they know what to do with their medicine. Like it's like, what the fuck is this? And then at the end, I'm just be like, feel bad for them because they're about to get Annie Oakley's about to blow their brains out on the dining table, and I'm like, okay, fucking blow my brains out on the table so I don't have to watch this anymore.
Oh my god,
listen. All I know is, right, you know what would end this movie quicker if I was in it and I was this lady. The first time those kids looked at me stupidly, you punch them both in the face. You just punch them as hard as you can. Like, give me my pills back.
Punch them in the goober and walk away.
Punch them in the goober and walk away.
But how do you wrap your towels when you get out of the shower?
Listen, I even me, like, right
around your hair, nowhere else.
Me, like,
maybe that would have been better, John. Honestly, I would have accepted if she put, because her hair was, listen, especially the female with like longer hair, which I just chopped mine off, but like wet hair, long is obnoxious. And one of the first things I do too is wrap my hair in like a towel. And then I wrap one around my body. But what I'm saying is like, I would have accepted if she wrapped her hair in a towel and then got out and she was like full, but no. Wraps a towel around her waist.
I would have loved to
specifically gave us an R rating. That's what she did with the towel.
Because nothing else happens in this movie.
Even
the boobs couldn't save it. The boobs could not save it. And usually they do.
No, listen. Hey, yeah, boobs are great, but even I was like, why in the fuck are you doing that? And then I'm sitting there thinking, like, whose decision was that? Was that hers? Like,
No,
like a
that was-
psychopath?
That was
Same thing. I
the
said
EP
the
Or was
same
it
thing.
like the director was like, hey, just wrap it around your waist? It's like, and then if I was her, I'd been like, well, I don't fucking want to be in this movie anymore.
I literally said the same thing. And then I came to the conclusion that maybe it was her because no logical person says we need to film this scene, wrap the towel around your waist
Yeah.
like all women do. So I was just like, maybe she was just like, we need some boobs in here. And she wrapped the towel around her waist because like, I still can't stand.
Oh.
Maybe she's thinking nobody's going to see this piece of crap. Maybe this is the one where I show frontal.
I listen. I'll you know what? I wish you would have thought. Hey, can we have one more person look at this script? I think there might be some issues. That's what I wish you would have thought. But nope, she didn't. And I had to watch this movie once, and then I got tricked into watching it a second time because my brain made me forget that I watched it.
Well, aren't we all just glad that this is the movie that we close season 2 of The Wicked Wild, that we close Year of the Wiener with this specific movie? Isn't that great?
Closing Year of the Wiener with some boobs.
You know, if I'm being honest, after watching this, it made me feel like a wiener because this was ass.
So,
Well, the sad part is this is
we
the
hope
second
you've
time you've seen this, Eli.
oh yeah,
It is.
You've been twice.
I literally reversed Piranha myself. You know, with Piranha, I watched the wrong movie.
Oh,
With
yeah.
This, Jamie and I, after every recording for the last, I felt like 2 months. I'm like, I don't know what this movie is. I've never watched it. We even checked with
And we
Dave.
saw
we're like,
other lodges. Yeah, we had to check with
we're
Dave.
like, Dave, which one are we watching? And then like I started in like that opening scene with the dog, and I went, oh no. Oh no.
It's happening again.
And Mary's like, well, you've watched this with me. And I went, oh God, why didn't you tell me? Oh no.
Without showing any sort of guilt. So where does Mary land on this movie?
She
Just out of curiosity.
she didn't hate it. She liked a lot of the imagery, which, and granted, like that house was
It is
creepy.
pretty. Yeah.
And like there
It's
is
pretty, but-
some like they do have some like cool imagery, and I think that's like she likes it. Where like she can be a little bit more forgiving with stories. Where me, I'm like,
Oh, we know how you are. Yeah.
Yeah.
why are they
we're aware.
fucking like this? So, but yeah, she like it's not her top 10, but yeah, I also don't think
as
she
we
feels
call
strongly.
it was fine.
It was a
fine.
movie.
We know how it was fine.
It was a movie.
Although to us it was not fine.
Yeah.
But
It was
yeah,
not fine.
There
It was
is there is a it was fine, and that's that's fine.
If I'm being honest,
Right.
if the top 5 worst movies we've done in this show, Antlers will always be number 1.
Yeah, we know that.
We're aware.
This is probably, as of right now, like number 5.
Oh wow.
Okay.
You know what the good news is, Jamie? I looked this up out of morbid curiosity. This movie right here has a much higher Metacritic score than both Antlers and Piranha 3D.
No, it doesn't.
It sure
No.
does.
Piranha
No.
3D.
Yeah.
Wait, I
A
know
far
we're
superior
recording.
movie right here.
Yeah, I know we're recording right now, and nobody needs to hear this, and we could talk about this when the recording goes off. But I just want to state that I went, because we know how much I love it, to watch Piranha the other day, and
You watched
maybe
wrong
even
one?
finally buy it because Piranha 3D, and maybe finally buy it because I watch it so fucking much that people shouldn't watch this much. Dave, something happened, and it's been wiped from the internets.
Mhm.
Really?
I can't even purchase it. I can't purchase digitally Piranha 3D. Someone find it for me because I was fuming. I can't even do like a Google
Wow.
Play or Amazon Prime or Apple Movies. It is wiped.
Well, hey, I got good
Something
news for you,
happened.
Jamie. You can purchase The Lodge from any five
I
a
hope
dime
you
or
did
a
it.
dollar.
Ooh.
$5.
Actually, I think if you go to the studio and be like, hey, I want to buy The Lodge, you're like, well, fuck it, we'll just give it to you because everyone hated this movie. You can use that as a coaster.
I literally have a Google search that says Piranha 3D. Nowhere? Question mark. I can't. We all watched it just a couple months.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking, and you are correct, Jamie.
There was a few things I had forgotten to tell you guys that were really important. The other one, and this doesn't help us at all, was that Jeff's favorite movie was followed by his Prometheus was on the other day. I know how he feels about that. And then it was followed though by Event Horizon. So it made me think of Jeff. This is nothing. He's not even here right now. So
Yeah.
it doesn't really help.
But you know what, though? Prometheus, better movie than The Lodge.
Yeah,
Easily.
fair. Yeah,
Easily.
Mhm.
Anyway.
Yeah, I looked it up, and you're absolutely right, Jamie. That kind of is blowing my mind. I'm going to have
blowing my mind. It's not like it's a
thread
little
of news that's happening. I wonder if somebody bought it for distribution on their streaming channel,
and we're waiting for it to come out because, like, I just
so weird.
I can't find it anywhere, and then I wanted to purchase
buy it. That's weird.
Yeah, exactly. I thought that's like what we do. Like, if anything, you could buy it, and I could not even purchase it because I was like, I'll buy this movie. We know how much I watch it. It's fine. It's worth. I could own it digitally.
Well, it's a part of Warner Discovery. It could be really jacked up because I know they're dealing with a lot of stuff.
I'm really upset right now. Like, really upset by it. And it's like, it's one of those movies that's like also was always on the movie channels. That's how I watched it that over the summer when we did it, or October. I always think it's summer. Anyway, we're not back to The Lodge, which was a terrible movie. We just wanted to talk about better movies.
Listen, movie executives and companies out there, I just wish they would let Jamie put the quotes on the poster.
What?
The Lodge. It was a terrible movie. Like that. Like sometimes when you describe movies and you like do it, these like little like 3-word sentences or like do it. Like I love it because it's like boom, accurate, nailed. The Lodge. It was a terrible movie, but whatever. Like that.
If you watch it anyway, it's on you because I've just told you what it is.
Like it's fantastic. Like I just wish,
whatever. It needs the whatever.
Yeah.
Like I like in the future when we become a multi-billion-dollar podcasting empire, I'm gonna see where it's like, you know, Shudder presents Barn Slug 97, and it's gonna be like Jamie, Wicked Wild. It was terrible, but whatever. Like it'd be fantastic.
Any other thoughts on The Lodge?
Yeah, please don't ever make me watch it again.
No, I think we're all.
I want to forget. I want to forget.
We're all burying this one in the frozen lake.
Mm-hmm. Which someone
right
fell
down that damn
into.
hole.
Yeah.
So, John, this movie went against your because there was a random fishing hole in this lake for some reason that wasn't marked, which seems like that's not a real thing. And
no, that would happen if somebody just goes off and just cuts into the ice, and that happens.
no, they shouldn't have been playing on a frozen lake anyways.
No, you definitely should not be playing unsupervised. Definitely somebody who's not ice skated before definitely shouldn't be going to help somebody near a hole in the ice either.
Right.
Especially if you've been in a cult.
Because this dad has made such good choices every other place in this movie.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, he has the foresight to not bring his kids out onto the ice with a hole. And
Hey, I know your mom just died.
Yeah.
I got someone I want you to meet.
I think the whole human race is just better off with all of these people just disappearing mysteriously in the night.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my
Maybe
God.
that's just me.
Yeah.
So I do have, obviously, a Dave's Critter Corner. Maybe the high point of this entire podcast episode today is that we get to talk about a doggy. We do have Grady, as he's called in the movie, which is played by Wally, the dog.
Wally.
And he is credited. So thank you, movie, for at least getting that right. You credited your puppers. And I did a little research and found out that he is a Brussels Griffin. Anybody familiar with the Brussels Griffin?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Well, I wasn't familiar at all with him. So I went and did a little research on the Brussels Griffin. And they were originally bred in Brussels, in Austria and Germany in the early 1800s as rat killers for coachmen. Like the coachmen would buy these dogs or train these dogs to be rat killers in their stables. So they were stable dogs. Their name actually comes from the French word griffons d'écurie, which is wire-coated stable dog. Is what their name actually means. Very affectionate dogs and excellent communicators, very intelligent dogs. They get to be about 7 to 10 inches tall and 8 to 10 pounds. So they're very compact. So they're what would be called a toy breed. They live to be 12 to 15 years on average. Very trainable, high energy dog, needs a lot of playtime. They are vocal dogs and adaptable to change. They're very adaptable dogs. As I can imagine the breed having developed as a coachman's dog or a stable dog, they would be very adaptable because they're on the move and they're around a lot of other animals and people. So what you need to know before adopting a Brussels Griffin: high energy breed that needs companionship and interaction. They are people dogs. They need you around. They need to be around their people. If you're not going to be around, you need to give them a companion dog. I did read that these dogs do very well in pairs with another Brussels Griffin. Like they keep each other company and they train well. They don't do well with any dog. Like if it's a big dog that's dominant or something like that, they obviously wouldn't do good in that situation. But because of their size and their temperament, they do need companionship of some kind. Like I said, they're very affectionate, so they require a lot of cuddle time. I know that seems like a heavy lift. Jamie volunteers as tribute for all the
Always.
Brussels Griffin cuddling time. Although very high energy, they don't need a ton of exercise or a ton of training. They just need playtime. And really, because of their size, really 30 to 60 minute walk and then playtime during the day would probably be plenty for them, just because small frame dogs are not here for 2-mile walks for the most part. They're not down for that. They are relatively high maintenance though for their size due to their double coat and their long hair. So they need a lot of trimming, a lot of grooming. I think we talked about this with the Persians last time. Any long-haired animal, any long-haired pet, just assume that you're going to be going once every 2 months or so to the groomers to get them trimmed up and groomed out so that they and you are both happy. They're very sensitive to heat, which seemed odd to me, but I guess it makes sense because of the climate in Northern Europe that they would have been bred in. But apparently they're very sensitive to getting overheated or heat stroke. So be aware of that if you're thinking about adopting. Any other news or any other of your experiences you want to share with Brussels Griffin? Because like I said, I've never been around them. It was a cute dog. It certainly didn't deserve to be in a movie like this, but
I've never been around one. I just knew what they were. But wasn't this dog? Aren't they like brown? This dog was white, no? Right? This
they can.
white.
I think they can be
white.
like.
They can be.
I thought they were. Got it.
My Mary religiously watches the dog show every year.
Yeah, so do I.
And a lot of times their face is shaved to look like they have a beard.
They do, yeah. I think this one even had a beard, didn't it?
I don't know. I was trying not to fall asleep the whole time I was watching.
Yeah, it was hard. I was
having trouble
Legos
paying attention.
So it was hard.
Also, the other thing too, you never want to see an animal die, but I was like, well, at least he got out. You know what I mean? You don't have to be around these people. You don't have to watch. Because like honestly, like this dog could have been like, what the fuck? Like, can't you see these two idiots? And like he didn't even say anything during. Just like fuck it. Like I just went out of this.
He just
like,
walked out.
Her husband's weird. Or she's weird. These
this
kids
is not
are weird.
End well for me either way.
I just don't want to be. I just want to be a part of it.
Fair enough. So, Eli, what are we going to be following up our final review of season 2 with on our final episode of Campfire Tales?
Yeah, this movie's the worst. But it does open up with a death cult, or suicide cult, excuse me. So I thought, why don't we do a high level overview, condense what should be a 25-part series into about an hour.
Yeah.
Talk about Jim Jones and Jonestown.
Whoa.
Woo-hoo.
Wonderful.
Whoa.
Yeah. Can it be done? I think it will be done. Is it going to be what people are thinking? Probably not. But hey, I can jam anything to an hour if you give me enough time, except for this movie. This fucking movie wouldn't stop.
I was going to say, the beauty of it is that you can go back to that well. It's kind of like Skinwalker Ranch. You can give an overview like we did with Skinwalker, and then come back there anytime it makes sense.
I keep thinking about going back to Skinwalker, but there's been some weird stuff going on there, and I'm waiting to see how it plays out.
You don't want to put your name on it right now?
Well, I do, but like I want to put my name on when there's some answers.
When you have some information.
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
Unlike this movie, which I would never want my name on. Just, in case anybody forgets how much none of us liked it.
Well, to that point, we do thank you for listening and getting all the way to the end. If this is a movie that matters to you, if there's a defense you have for this movie, we are honestly intrigued and open to that. You can send us feedback on that. We certainly weren't trying to abuse something that you like. Obviously, like I joked earlier with the Metacritic score, this is a movie that to a large group of people is fairly good. It just didn't hit for any of us. So we're not trying to make it personal with you. If you liked it, go on liking it. But if you had input, if there's something we missed, or if there's an aspect or a perspective on it that you think we might change our minds on it, you can feel free to send that to us. If you like the show, we do ask you to subscribe, rate the show, give us comments, visit our website, thewickedwild.com. We've got new merch on there. I haven't put a new article on there in so long. I need to write some new book reviews. I've been reading a couple things that are primed for book reviews that I need to get up before Netflix releases the series on them, like Three Body Problem. But if you want to see any of that stuff or learn more about our hosts or kind of what we're doing here, you can go to the website, thewickedwild.com. If you want to follow us on social media, you can do that at X at Wicked Wild We Are, Slasher, which is the horror only community, which seems to be getting a second breath right now, at Wicked Wild We Are there as well. And then on Instagram at Wicked Wild Pod. If you want to see our smiling faces and this episode that's going to be all jacked up because I've had bandwidth issues the whole time, you can view that monstrosity on YouTube. Just search the Wicked Wild Podcast. As I said earlier, if you want to give us feedback, if you want to give us your perspective on this movie, whether good or bad, we'd love to hear it. You can send me an email at podcast@thewickedwild.com. Anything else? Have I missed anything?
Hey, you said they could watch this video and it would be a monstrosity, but I have made some great jokes when you froze, and I did a little dance. So these people are getting more than their money's worth for this episode.
Well, no spoilers, but we'll see how much of that stays in after I edit it.
That is unfortunate. You people don't know what you're missing.
Well, you are a good dancer. I'll leave all the dancing in for sure.
Listen, I don't want to say that I'm built like a stick figure, which means I can dance from the waist up.
And on that note, as we always say when we close out our podcast, we recommend you, especially if you enjoyed this movie, to get out there and get yourself lost. It may be the only place you can find yourself. Have a good night.